Father, son, uncle, brother. On a journey of highs and lows, you were created in the image of God and given dominion in the earth, destined for great things and to fulfill purpose. Join us on Men on Monday as we discuss all issues related to men. We are unifying family, building strong families, building strong futures. Join us on Men on Monday.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I hope all is well with you. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, we want you to follow us on our new channel, Unifying Families Worldwide. Be sure to follow us and click that notification bell to stay tuned for all of our upcoming videos. We've got great things in store for you. So, follow us at our new channel, Unifying Families Worldwide.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Blessings in the name of Jesus. Thank you for being on Unifying Families International. It's all about the men on Monday. We're going to have a wonderful day on the 25th of July. I want to say good morning to these two powerful men of God. Good morning, Bishop Mark. Good morning, Pastor Edison. My name is Clair Browne. I'll be the host this morning. How was your week, Bishop Mark? And then tell me, Pastor Edison, how was your week?
Well, good morning to everyone. Good morning, gentlemen. First of all, let me thank the Lord for this wonderful day, for this is the day that He has made. My week was rather hectic because I was winding down to take some vacaciones. I'm actually having apparently a working vacation because from today I'm officially on 2 weeks leave. So you all are getting the benefit of someone who's celebrating vacation. So after a hectic week, I'm hoping to wind down and to try to relax. Notice it's still involved, but hey, that's the way it is.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's great to be on the program. My week was like Bishop Mark's. My week was pretty hectic. This is end of term, so I have a lot of exams and projects and so on to grade. So I've been pretty busy between Bible school and BIMAP and church. I've been pretty busy, but I had a good week. It's always good to be productive. And yesterday was a good session at church. We actually had two persons make decisions for Christ. And so we're always excited whenever people commit their life to the Lord. And now the process of discipleship now begins. So we're really looking forward to what God is doing. But good week. And Minister Sinclair, what about you? How was the week?
I'm blessed. That I'm vacationing at Bishop Mark, so yes, I am taking a week off. Yeah, I was actually looking forward to this. I'm not a vacation person, but I can tell you, I stopped myself. I was running on E. So I'm a person that I don't like vacation. I can always be going, but I recognize when I'm running on fumes for a month or so. I was like, yeah, bro, we need to take some time out. Take some time out for my health. I want to thank the Lord. I had a scare this week and found myself at Sandy Crest. Believe it or not, and I hate doctors. So if I had Sandy Crest, yeah, Brown was in a problem. So I thank God that they found nothing, and I'm feeling a lot better. I'm also taking that hint from the Lord. Take care of my health. I've been giving. So in this office 12 hours. So sorry, people. No, please. Tell me that. If I die, you'll still be living. So God is good. I celebrated also my son's 16th birthday this week. So it was nice. We gave him a 3-day basically celebration. As I said, he's already moved as a powerful man, and I encouraged him. So I really want to recognize that. So yes, taking into consideration, we're talking about developing men. Apologize for my dancing shirt. Any person that know about video, this is a no-no for video. So I apologize for my dancing shirt. T-shirts are every video person there be shooting me by now. If I had a producer that was aiding that, he probably, strip me of my shirt and go naked. But looking at this last show also, so we want to make it very dynamic, share this with persons. This ministry has been going on for several years, and I definitely want to see that this has been powerful. So we're taking a break. So today we're talking about having dominion on the earth as men. What does that look like? But we really want to get into some foundation parts that we discussed last week. So we're going to look at the first one. Question I'm going to toss to you. Does fatherlessness, absent males, and we touched this before, but still, affects a man's development and leadership? And compared to having an unhealthy example and affecting a man's development and leadership. So some people believe that it does not affect a man's development, but I will hold my little 2 cents, but I'm going to toss that first to Pastor Edson first. And tell me, in your mind, once again, subjective, we can look from the Word of God. Does it matter? Does it significantly affect or not in your perspective? And you start, Pastor Edson, and we go to Bishop Mark.
All right, so let me jump in there. Fathers are important. We know that both parents are important, but when you do a study on the different research when it comes to fathers, it is very important that the father be in the picture. So when it comes to things like the healthy emotional development of the child, when it comes to things like self-esteem and so on, the father plays an integral role. And you also got to remember that the home is the first place that a child will be exposed to leadership, and therefore you need to have that male model. And if you don't have that male model, that lack of positive role model, it does detrimentally affect children in different ways. Lack of focus, lack of discipline, understanding the role of a father, understanding certain responsibilities, understanding how to be a man. So there's a lot of things there that a father is integral for. A woman, as much as we appreciate our mothers, they can't fill that role. And God did not design them to fill that role, just as God did not design the man to be a mother. And so we have to understand that God in his infinite wisdom gave both a mother and a father, and both have a part to play in shaping the character of men. But the role of the father, especially when it comes to sons, is very critical in helping men develop. And we see the absence. When there's an absence of fathers, you see increased lawlessness, you see violence, you see ill treatment of women, you see a lot of issues that stem from the fact that the father is not in the picture. So I believe that fathers are integral. We need them. We need them to help our men develop in a healthy way.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, Pastor, 100%. I think it's absolutely critical. I would say I know that there have been some cases where, especially in an old man like me, in my day and time, you would find that the absence of a father, though it would have some negative impact, was buffeted or the single mother or whoever was able to work the situation out because there were role models in the community. In other words, there would have been young men, especially in my day, where even although that's where this thing about raising a child through a village has come from, because in my day, even although a father was absent, and yes, that still would affect and have an effect on any child. But because of the environment then, where you had, for example, look, community stuff, you have a football, cricket, you do all kinds of things with the bigger guys. So you were able to follow, and you had people who were youngsters who were very into church. And so they would come by your house and pick you up and take you to church, you know? So you had that scenario. I think in the present time, all of what you said, Pastor, is correct, because now you do not have that father fulfilling, because I'll say it to you, there's sometimes you can have a father present. What I mean, he could be in the house, he could be providing for the some of the financial needs and so on, but he ain't loving, he ain't embracing, you know, he's not affirming and so on. Because I tell you my own situation, I'm my father's first child from my mother, and there was 5 others, and I had wished for a great relationship with my father from very young, but it never materialized. But he was a good provider. You know, he made sure we had a home to live in and so on. But in terms of touchy and firming and loving, and you didn't have that. So it is a very important contributor to, as you said, Pastor, where guys look for. And the key thing to all this, you know, ain't so much like a father around to discipline or whatever, but to display love. A lot of times, fatherless people, and not that the fathers are dead, you know, but it's just in the scenario, affect the children. We're now there look for that love in other areas. And you know, the fellas on the block, the fellas dealing with certain things, know that, and so they empower them, they love them up and make them feel wanted. So I think this is a very important thing. I remember a couple of years ago, I did a men's seminar, and we went through the session. We talk about men, you know, similar to the way you're talking about having dominion and so on. And we got to a session. Now, these are some experienced men. One guy was 65, another guy was 40, that kind of age. And when we got to that particular aspect of it, I asked a couple of the guys to share. There was one particular guy who was about 60-something years old. His father was 90-something. And in talking about his father, there was so much regret. This is a man 60-something years old, and he actually cried like a baby when he was describing his relationship. And before he could say a bugger down, in the corner to my left, there was another man, because of how he was talking, bursting out in tears. These are big people, right? And so that is a very important aspect. I know sometimes we talk about the guys, because the guys then get the deviant behavior. But you see, girls can listen. A father in a girl's life is a valuable thing. But I'll turn back over to St. Clair now. And that's the important, a father around, because as you say, Pastor, that's how God designed it. And anytime we go against God's design, we get got problems.
Let me talk about fatherlessness, and I like where we're going with this. Do you think that this is just my perspective? I'm going to push this in here so we can see if you all agree. Do you think that you talked about wanting a village was also part of that? Do you find that the dissemination of the village, because the village has one point was like a culture, Brazil was a culture, but now we are moving therefore. So one is we know our cousins was down the road and and therefore this person's father could have corrected or spoken to this person because we were a village. But as a result of progression, you know, we don't have transportation, we have cars, we don't have to rely on each other. You know, we move into a different neighborhood, we don't know our neighbors, and by extension, I guess the importance of men inside those transitions are not there based on the media, sound, video, and all those things. So the village one and the fatherlessness within inside of that community, do you find that has also impact as fatherlessness inside that village and impacting development of both male and female?
All right, well, I can jump here just in front of the pastor. 100%. See, one of the things in this whole village concept, Minister, was the fact that your parents taught you how to respect your elders. So, in other words, if my father and a neighbor was having an issue, I could not walk past that particular neighbor and don't speak because my father and them had an argument yesterday. I would be in trouble, right? So that's the kind of thing that the village did for us. You had to respect your elders. And the other thing is, you talk about the people that live around you might not even be your cousins, but the fact is they were so into each other. I used to live in the Pine Parkinson Field, the Pine before that Parkinson Field. I could tell you who lived where, miles down into the Pine itself from Parkinson Field, exactly where their door was, exactly where the particular shop was. And so why? Because there was so much interaction. Yeah, we have little squabbles and guns shooting, but you had that community interaction. I'll give you one more example. We had a lady who was a friend of ours just a few blocks from us, and we were on vacation, school children. My mother never, or father never asked us for anything, asked somebody for anything. My father and mother tried their best to provide where they could, and we never really went hungry. But we were home for vacation, and she goes and do a big pot of soup. Bring it to our house and tell Mom, look, you go down to work, these covered with food. Right? That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. So with that having thing now, you go to any community now that people ask, excuse me, can you tell me where John Brown lives? And John Brown lives right in front or 3 houses to the left of the person, and they don't know John Brown. I live in a I'll give you one example. I went to there was always this guy here in my neighborhood. He died recently, but he would drive past me and they would shake and blow the horn. I go into Price Smart and bad about him. So I'm glad to see my neighbor. I say, neighbor, what's happening? The man look at me and say, who's you? I said, well, I'm from Jensen. He said, Jensen, oh, you know, move up there. And I Jensen for 20-something years, shaking at the man every day. So we had more people passing. They come in, and nowadays, it's even worse because people they still got the whole thing, except for the party goers and thing, but still got this thing about getting home early. When you see in my neighborhood, people get in the house and close the door, that's it. So obviously that affects now their ability to influence things. So everybody's about their own thing. And then you find where people, as you said, when people progress, they want the village talk, they want the village look, so I agree. That is a very important aspect to the whole thing. I agree with you. Agree with that.
Going over to Pastor Edson, so great. So Pastor Edson, Bishop Mark mentioned something just now. Do you find that authority has been dissolved as a result? Because as you said, one time the older person in the neighborhood could tell you, "Young man, stop going in the stop bursting up your shoes," or something. So as a result of authority, because other people can't speak to you, and especially a man can't speak to you, what do you think the impact like that? No fondness as far as the community is concerned. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons too why you have a lot of lawlessness and a lot of deviance, because at the end of the day, nobody can tell anybody anything. If you look at the educational system, you will find that teachers often complain about that fact. In fact, in some cases, you might have parents that want to come down and beat the teacher. And so you have this respect for policemen. I know all policemen may not be respectable, but back in the day, when a person had authority, whether they were a policeman, a nurse, whoever, they were respected. So there is a breakdown in authority. And then if you couple that with the things that are happening in society in terms of like transgenderism and homosexuality and lesbianism and all these things that are being promoted and so on, it's changing the dynamic now. So whereas there is the issue of who is a man, what authority he has, everybody got equal say, so children got the same say as the parents, and everybody is about their own rights, and we got to preserve the rights of this group and the rights of that group and so on. So then you have a gradual breaking down in authority. And what has happened is that it was subtle and it was happening in an ongoing way, but now it is blatant. So you have a case where you can't correct anybody. If you look to correct somebody ready to pelt rocks at you or they're ready to shoot you, you look at somebody too hard and say, what you do there was wrong. People ready to be, and I'm talking about young people, young people very aggressive and they want to beat you for saying. So that respect for the elders, that respect for the older generation, that is breaking down, and it's something that we have to recapture in society, but we have to make it broader. In some communities, I doubt very much that we will get back to the village, but you still see remnants of it in some of the rural communities and so on. You do see the extended families sometimes connecting, and you see that generational connection. But we have inherited some stuff from North America. I mean, traditionally Caribbean, in terms of our Caribbean African history, we were very group oriented. We were more group oriented, but now because we've inherited this fast-paced individualism coming down from the larger European countries and the North America and so on. We are now very individualized, very independent. We see the same thing in church. Even in church, sometimes you don't have authority. Sometimes the pastor can't say certain things, or sometimes the Sunday school teacher can't correct certain things. And so again, it has permeated even our Christian institutions is there. So it has an impact. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So we actually see that authority overall from a community has actually impacted homes, because we got fathers that can't even correct their own children, right? So pray tell a man from somewhere else, because there's some people that they have, that is my child, don't hate my child, well, you show that my child, and the man is a biological father, and so he loses his teeth. He says, me, I don't touch the child. So you hear this languaging. One, so if home men are not respected, even if the man is present, the man has to almost succumb to what mommy is saying about the child, about her child. Then that role of authority is scattered. And likewise, I'm going to challenge you on church, because both of y'all have church, so you're going to be representing churches right now. I have some licks with both of y'all. You're representing churches, so it's just you, even if you're not guilty of it. Where churches allow women get up in church and say, I am mother, father, especially Father's Day. I am the father for my child.
Not that Charnock, buddy. Not that Charnock. Not that Charnock.
I am mother and father.
Listen, Clair. Let me tell you.
Y'all gonna represent this, because I heard this in one of my churches. I've even been called Father's Day gifts.
I told my church, listen, we gotta get rid of that language, that foolishness. Mother cannot be both father and mother. Biologically, spiritually impossible. So I correct that. I let them know Father's Day. Listen, can't be both mother and father. We ain't giving no gifts to no mother. Yeah, I mean, we appreciate the mothers on Mother's Day. We thank God for them. We appreciate them. We love them. We love them bad. But when it comes to Father's Day, we honoring fathers, and we ain't saying to the mothers, "Oh, you have to play the role of both father and mother." No, we not referencing that kind of language. We correct. We put that thing in perspective. So not at Charnock. It might happen elsewhere, but not at Charnock.
Yeah, it don't happen. As Clair could tell you that it don't happen at Level Light Ministries International. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we do, we place serious emphasis on our men. He used to lead our men before. He would tell you, we place simple up to this very time. As long as I'm still like a father, quarreling with men to do a simple thing to help set up church and things of that nature, because men have a way of, and I say it with all the love in my heart, have a way of being very fickle sometimes and non-committal. They will commit with their mouth, but not with the action. And so we put a lot of emphasis on that. And I would pastor, Mother's Day, you could thank some mother that did that good job. But when you come to our men, when it's men, then I know that right now that we don't celebrate the men. I remember Clair said it some time ago, where when you see is Mother's Day, the restaurants book out. When it's Father's Day, we can walk in any place and have a lunch, because they don't give us the same kind of thing, although our roles are very important. But one of the things that was mentioned there just now by you, Pastor, is this. What has happened is that the role of the church, not the church itself trying to reach out, but getting parents, these young people who are getting children, to get them into church. Because one of the things that helped with the village was the fact that your parents, don't mind, they might not be going, somehow in their minds, our parents felt, science the one goal, that they felt that if their children could get into a church environment, hear about the Lord, they will do better. And it worked for years. But now you had younger children getting children. The father's just dropping the sperm and gone, so they're really serious about no children and so on. Some of them fathers for years don't look back at the children. But what has happened now, you go to most young people today and ask them about Jesus, about church, about whatever. Some of them didn't even get baptized. I had to actually dedicate a child that was 1 year and some months, because the parents didn't see the need to do it till they got into the church and so on. So the church was very, very important. Some of the children didn't go to church and became saints, or some of them still were wayward. But somehow having that spiritual connection from young meant that when they get into a fight, they can kill nobody, they might protect themselves, but they're not going to the place where they don't have a value for life because they themselves realize, having gone to church, that they're special and that another human being is special in God's eyes. And that's what you don't have now. So fellas can blatantly go on and don't care about life. I've spoken to some youngsters, and you know what they say to me? They say to me, Pastor, you really, really think that I want to live to get as old as you? I hear about that. I come out here and enjoy my life, have a good time, wherever happen. And I'm serious. These guys are very, very serious. Or should I say these young people, because some of the girls said the same thing. So we are constantly seeking to empowerment in our church. But, you know, it's to get, sometimes to bend an old tree is so much more difficult than having, you know, nurture that tree and bring it up. And that is what is definitely missing too as part of this whole deviant behavior thing, that particular aspect of it.
No, we're here. Is it possible that whatever the reason is, that men have lost their identity and understanding their purpose as a society? Look at what we've mentioned so far in our other programs. I mean, look at all the more. I'm not too sure what's happening.
Well, I don't know if the internet is freezing, because I see some freezing going on. So I don't know if like it's happening from my end or whatever.
I don't know. I'm checking also. I don't know who's at. We're back on track. Good. So the question, just in case, once again, is it result of men not knowing who we are? We don't understand our gender. They are our XY chromosomes. We understand that part. We understand we have a mustache, we have a beard, we have testicles. But do we understand who we are apart from that? Because this is my observation, me trying to get men to understand themselves. Because listening to both of you and listening to past programs, that there were men that fathered us apart from our biological fathers, be they present or not. Do you find that the fathering aspect of our society has gone away? Because it doesn't mean, and this is one of the things I try to get me to understand, because you have a child from a man does not mean that he has the heart of a father. A child does not necessarily make a man a father. A child does not necessarily make a woman a mother. Biologically, yes, but fathering and mothering by extension. So do you think in our society where we don't see a personal responsibility to children, not just my child, but to people and to children in our community and in our society, where we can see wrong being done and we just pass it by? Do you find that we have not seen, apart from our households, because I know personally we are seeing men not necessarily seeing themselves in that role. Therefore, for the home and community, is this true that this fatherlessness is more of a mind space for our men?
Yeah, very, very important question, Sinclair, and I'm going to look at it in a roundabout way. One of the things that we are talking about in our Bible study at Sharon's is a disciple-making church. And one of the things that I pointed out, based on a book by Bill Hull, was that you have to have a certain shift that takes place in how we operate. And one of the shifts that have to take place is in the area of pastoral care. So everybody has to understand that they have a role to play, that they have to share part of the responsibility. They got to be invested in helping people grow spiritually and so on. It's not a one-man thing. And I think in the church, what has happened is that it has become a one-man thing and not a people thing. It hasn't become a community thing. So when it comes to working when it comes to the whole issue of fathering, it's not a one-person thing. It is all the men in the church being trained. We have to, as pastors, we have to multiply ourselves. We have to invest in men that are willing and train them and teach them pretty much like Jesus did, right? It could begin with calling men, calling them intentionally, but then after you have called them, it is you now have to invest in them. You have to not only teach them, but you have to model, you have to hold them accountable, you have to empower them, you have to give them opportunity to get involved and that kind of thing. So if the church has some men, they're present, we have to go out of our way to try to get hold of them, train them, teach them, develop them, empower them, and then see them go out and do the same thing. So I think that we have to develop a culture of fathering. It's not automatic because we no longer have the society that we used to have. Back in the day, you had a society where, as Bishop Mark said, there were men that even if your father was not present, there were other men who could positively influence you and impact you, and you were open to those men sharing with you and that type of thing. But no, it's different. It's every man for himself. So the culture has changed. So we don't have that culture now where you have this extensive fathering system. Even in the church, we don't have that extensive fathering system. We had a couple women that came into the church. They have young children and so on. Who in a small church, sometimes who are the men that you can lay hands on and say, look, I want you to be available to help me provide a kind of fathering influence in the children, because in many instances the biological father is not really in the mix. Yeah, so you need some men that are going to step in there to provide an example and that kind of thing. So we have to be intentional. It's not automatic anymore. We have to take the time to develop the culture. We have to help the men understand, yes, their identity, but along with their identity, they have to understand their purpose. They have to understand what is required of them. You can't separate identity. Well, not that you cannot, but you don't want to separate identity from purpose and from responsibility. I think that they have to go together. Men need to understand who they are. They need to understand what God has called them to do. And we need to hold them accountable. We need to hold each other accountable, because you gotta hold me accountable, and I gotta hold you accountable, so that I can become a better man, a better husband, and that kind of thing. So I can shut up and let Bishop Mark jump in.
You were running the race rather nicely. But yeah, this whole thing, though, you're correct. One of the things is I think that in most, and I know there might be some that struggle with this, but I think in most churches we well, I hope we have a plan. I know we do all the time to empower men. But here's the problem. The problem is, St. Clair was saying, out of the church, because you see, if you can get them into the church in the first place, you can provide the help. The problem is not getting them, and the reason is because you would find a lady would probably a woman would still want to go a party with, but would still attend church. Men know it's difficult to get them there to start to do what you want to do with them, because what has happened is that you see, the church was so critical, and then the role models in the village, because identity and purpose is very important. Because if you don't know, for example, who you are, if you don't know where you were created, what is your special gifting, you ain't gonna be happy, and you're not going to be as productive, or you will become counterproductive in terms of creating more problems than victories or whatever. So it's important that we try to get, I don't know whether we start where they are, maybe in the school system that is broken down to. But again, that was an area that was very crucial, because when I went to school, even for primary school, I would have met my principal when she was about 70 something, and I still say, ma'am, ma'am, how are you? You know, Mrs. Bascom. I still did that, because from very small, she as a teacher was able to influence me to behave well, to give my best, and other teachers that came along. So the whole system, but the difficulty is, as you would have mentioned earlier, Pastor, that we are in a different environment altogether, right? We are in an environment where anything goes, apparently, right? Everything that is bad is good, and what we see as good and sacred, people not looking at. And that is why we have the problem that we have even with our young men. Because when you find a young person, young man and a young lady, just went to have sex, had sex, and a child is produced, recognize that's not really, you know, they didn't go and plan for a child, decide, look, we want to nurture and bring up a child. They're going to have sex. So the sex produce a child. The young lady, you know nothing about child. This is the other thing I also want to say. Why it breaks down, because they haven't been taught responsibility, even to wash wares in the house or sweep the house. I'm talking about men that keep around the house clean. The man dropped the bomb, dropped the child, and gone, right? Because he had never been accountable, as you said, to nobody, right? The girls might do that, but the fellas supposed to do that. And the other thing that is very, very pertinent to why this happened is that these youngsters know a young lady ain't really went in for the sex for the child. So now the responsibility there. So you know what you do? They get the child to love grandma, and grandma know that they vexed before, now embrace the child. You know what that does? give the young lady no room again to go and bring the next one. So before you finish, you got one young lady at 90, by 21 years, got 3 or 4 children in the house, right? And then you see them in the paper and the house break down. And but obviously, if you can't afford one and got 6, you can got trouble. And so these are the things. And so you want help because your heart go up to children. And so then that person gets, so another boy said, well, okay, well, if that working, let me get 4 too and see. So that is where the whole thing is. The whole society has, we're gonna, then you have certain rights and laws and everything else. So people identity lick up because somebody feel a little attraction to a fella and feel that that means that he's a homosexual, or some lady might feel some attraction because the person nice, and they take that attraction to mean that it's a sexual attraction. So these are all the things that we are playing with, and so all I can say is that all we can do is to continue to try as the church and have program. We have to go there and try to do outreach, but the one thing that I know we gotta do is prayer and prayer and prayer some more. That's what I would suggest. Because unless a person make a choice, you can go on the blog, you can tell fellas about Jesus, the Holy Spirit can move, but until a person make a choice, every day pray that, I hope that we wouldn't be too afraid, and I hope that when they do give the lights, they don't walk in with the AK-47. But when they say that, these fellas would come and give up the gun for the Lord. But that can only happen in the spirit realm, because to do that physically, sometimes, Frank, tell you open your mouth with Jesus, you're rejected, but you still have to try. So we got a lot of work to do, but it has to be, remember that we are not fighting against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places, especially when it comes to our men, because the devil knows that if he can take out our men, he can win some of the battle.
Okay. And that coming down to the home stretch of our program, having dominion on this earth. And I think it's quite important, us having that dominion, but because I don't think we understand first our identity as a man. And there are 3 principles that I'm going to give my contribution here. There are 3 principles that I go through with men about. First, finding their identity as a man. I show them in the Bible where the identity is, the image and likeness of God, or the image and glory, and that is backed up by both Genesis and Corinthians. I think it is the second one. Men having that image and likeness, image and glory, that is important, because I try to get men to understand your being is what causes you to do. So nobody can cancel you and say you're not a man, but because you are, you do. The second thing I try to get men to understand is that that in them is something called husbandry. You don't get married to be a husband, but you learn what that is so that you look for a wife, because you have to practice husbandry before the wife. And the third thing is fathering. You should understand fathering long before you get a child. Yeah, so if you get a child from a dude that doesn't understand his manhood, his husbandry, or his fathering, then you got a problem. You know what I mean? As you said rightfully, Bishop, we both may have sex, we both had an orgasm, then you get a call, oh, I missed my period. So then he's a deadbeat dad. We skip the process because God put process in place for a reason. We skip the process and then we want to know what is happening. So I do call men out on some men that believe that having notches on their belt is the definition of, or the qualification of their manhood. And I cancel that nonsense. Yeah, very much, because even although I'm a therapist, I also understand that as a man sitting in the office, that I am fathering many of my clients. So many of them address me as such, even some are older than I am, because I'm cognizant of my fathering. Yes, even give an example. Yesterday, I did call some of the young people in the community that my son played when I brought them together, and they said, well, I want to celebrate my son's 16th birthday, and they all turned up. You know what I'm saying? I just sent one message to the person, they all turned up, and we had a house full of people there. And I said, I thank you because you are part of my parenting process. When I'm not here, he's among you all. And thank you for being part of the parenting process. And I also say to them, I love you. You understand? All of that is pivotal as men. I don't think we really have come to the place that understanding that as grown men, that many people have never received I love you without any salacious behavior or sexual advancement or derogatory anything. So we as men, I understand the programs, I understand the ministries, don't get me wrong. But the presence of understanding as a man, many people we have to cancel a lot of the narrative that have been said about us. And we might not be able to get everybody to do it, but we as individuals have to come to the place that I will not be that definition of what a society has said that we are. So me being a father means I will speak to you very strongly, and I would never ever disconnect from you. You may disconnect from me, and I've had clients that do that. You know what I mean? But when they came back, I still love them because I give them His love. You understand? And a lot of men are raised in effeminate spaces that, oh, you disconnect from me, or if you disconnect from me, let me disconnect from you first. So we have a lot of disconnection among men. And that was not necessarily the narrative of men. That's why the block culture is still so strong. Because if me and Pastor Edison from Brennan's Hill, although from Bonnets, and he was more from the middle side of Brennan's Hill, and we heard, oh, somebody do Edison from lower down Brennan's Hill something, they be going to deploy men. I ain't gonna know Edson, but we had a community. You understand? Even if me and Edson fight, but somebody do him something, we represent it. But because we're being raised in a different household, and I say this to women, body language is even important. Because men normally in a level of respect, we dip our eyes when we respect a man. When we apologize, we normally look down. Mothers normally say, look in my eyes and apologize. Look in eyes, you're sorry. You keep looking down. Right? And I tell him, no, actually, men, when we are in submission, we look down. Look how dogs do it, lions do it, men do it. It's the same. We either do it, yes, respect, or challenge. The three language when we look at a man is respect, yes, challenge, or respect. And depending on that situation, that's how we function. So that is one of the reasons that having men among men raising men, women being around men to get to understand a man's body language. Because you can imagine a female that didn't raise her own daddy to see his different modalities. When she gets into a relationship, by the time, even if he shows a little frustration, she sees it as anger or she sees him as upset or disconnect and she walks away. So I give a long blurb there, but in relation to man, husband, and fathering, what are your thoughts on that particular narrative? Do you think that would help us to understand our dominion personally in the home, community, Barbados region, the world? Do you think if we start to have a narrative like that, that wherever we go, we understand these three principles as far we need to be giving to whoever that is necessary?
Okay, I was waiting to see if Bishop Mark was going to jump in there first. Yeah, I think you have to have a framework to work with. Yeah, and the framework doesn't have to be complicated. Those are three of the primary rules. The fact that you are to have a God relationship, and that God relationship defines who you are. You are created to reflect God. And the fact that yes, some men are going to be married, and if they are going to be married, they have to understand before they get married what is their role, what is their responsibility as a man, because you have to be able to take care of a wife, and you can't wait till you get married to begin to look at that. That's why we believe in premarital counseling. There has to be a framework that helps you to understand your role and responsibility in getting married. And then, yes, even before you have a child, you should be thinking about the concepts of how to be a father. And you also got to recognize that in the context of one, the biblical responsibility, but also the changing environment in the world. It's a lot more difficult to raise a child in this environment. I mean, there's so many different values, so many different technologies, so many different challenges that before society was much more simple. Now society is very much complicated. So you have to learn, but going back to the fact that God has given dominion, and dominion is rulership, and that dominion is over the whole created order. And that speaks of our stewardship, of our responsibility. Out of that dominion would come politics, will come families and society and that kind of thing. So all of those flow out of the central principle of the home, because we started with Adam and Eve, and God gave Adam and Eve dominion. And then from there, you had them having children, and then you had the family, the extended family. Then you had society, then you had political structures, then you had economies and different things developed. So you can understand that our dominion then affects all the different spheres of influence. Yeah, it affects economics, it affects politics, it affects the home, it affects entertainment, it affects every different area. So we have to understand our responsibilities in all of these areas, and how do we impact, even if you think of things like climate change or the environment and so on. we still have a responsibility to protect the environment. So we got to be, we ain't gonna be approving of pollution and certain greed and how it destroys certain things in the environment, because we have been given stewardship of the earth, and we have to understand what that looks like. The church, what does dominion look like in the church among the saints of God, and that kind of thing. So the implications of it is very far reaching.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, and I think in mentioning the solution, Sinclair, is where we see the problem, because yes, what you're saying is very correct, but how many of our young men are we going to be able to get to sit down for them to know that, to be taught that, you see? And I think that's really major challenges. I think we have seen some efforts by some churches, by government to a lesser extent in terms of trying to provide certain programs for these young people. But you're correct, highlighting the solution that you're talking about. There are a lot of people going to these things without knowledge, and they don't understand, so they learn as they go, and sometimes as they are learning they get frustrated and they go by destroying whatever relationships that will be there. So in highlighting the solutions that you put forward there, having knowledge of these things before you go, I know, for example, people go to marriage council, they get 2 sessions, ask how they live, where they live, they have money, when I got children organized, and then go along. With me now, I go on by minimum, because I test all kinds of issues, 6 sessions with an understanding if you're going to 10, right? Because I want every T cross and every I dot. And if I think that the couple they're not ready for it, I'll say it to them too. There's big people that have to decide to get married, okay, but I would tell them what I think. So you realize that when you do these things, you realize that there's so many deficits, because some people come into the marriage because they want to be affirmed. So if the partner don't, or any relationship don't affirm them, that's a problem. She don't love me, or he don't do this. Some come in for some ladies coming out for security, so she don't want to move forward unless the fella can show that he's going to be industrious and provide, because we sometimes drop these things inside the lady's mind. Oh, anytime you get a husband, he must be able to support you and got money. And that is true. But you might be getting married to an artisan who's trying to invest in the business, and you got to be able to see the potential that the business can put in your sphere of operation, and so on. But a lot of times people come with this misconception, say all the time, where we have put men in this box. And so, don't marry if you can't do this. You got to be rich. You got to be. And so all of that work against the effectiveness of men in relationships. So I agree with Sinclair, but it's to now and maybe this for another part we start about next series, but how do we then go about getting this information to young men? I mean, programs like this will help, but how do we now get to these guys to try to re-educate them, because their minds are so set on where they are that it's difficult to break those mindsets. But that'll be another talk for another time.
I want to jump in there quickly because we got a couple of minutes left. One of the things that Minister Sinclair emphasized is the whole thing about relationship. Relationship. And I think one of the mistakes that we have made in the church is that we are focused on programs and events. And programs and events are occasional things, and they don't make people feel valued and important. What God wants us to do is to get back to just connecting with people first. The programs and events become important only after we build the relationship. But what happens is that we figure if we do an event, if we do a program, that's going to be all it takes. And people want to feel loved. People want to feel special. People want to feel important. So we got to look for those people that are relational in the church and let them at times be the ones at the forefront. And they build the bridge and we kind of follow up behind them with the program to solidify it. But if we don't have that love, and Jesus said that the main thing is love, if we get that right and we show that love and show people that they're special and important, then it creates a platform now that we can minister to them.
So beautiful. Once again, wonderful program, empowering men, empowering families, empowering the world. I want to thank Lisa for joining us, Jason for joining us. I also saw another young lady, Juliet, for joining us, and for all others out there that have been listening. Continue to share the program. It has been a wonderful season. This is the 25th day of July. We're talking about leadership of men. It is the final program. But once again, keep abreast, listen out for Unifying Families International. I'm sure that when there are other programs we had, that they'll be connecting with everyone. We definitely want to give a big shout out to Marissa Boyce, for her vision and her heart to going against all the pricks fighting on in the midst of her busy schedule, family, all the different things. We know your blood, sweat, and tears, so you know that there are three men that love you dearly. We know you're in the background producing for us. So we love you, love you, love you. Without you, we'd not have this program. And yes, so thank you, Bishop Mark, for being here of Love and Light Ministry International, Pastor Bynoe of Charnox Pentecostal. Both are authors. Listen up for their books. My name is St. Clair Browne, your host today. Blessings in the name of Jesus. Lift up the name of Jesus, and all men will be gathered. So wonderful being here, and look forward to all the blessings that God has for you. See you.